The silence of the universe was deceptive. She never pointed to safety. A cybernetic girl named Leah knew this better than anyone. Her metal hands jingled every time she clenched her fists. She stood at the edge of the abyss of stars, staring at a wrecked ship in a distant sector sinking into the inky blackness of space. Her mission was simple: to locate and evacuate the vessel's sole occupant, an alien protector named Corral, whose power was believed to be legendary. But the SOS signals conveyed a completely different message. Someone or something had cornered him, and if Leah does not arrive in time, he will face inevitable death. Leah understood that she had little time. Her systems scanned the ship for signs of life. The detection was weak but clear. Corral was still alive. However, his protection mechanism was no longer working, and he himself lay defenseless in the middle of the wreckage. She took a step forward. A slight click of her mechanical legs broke the silence in the middle of the ship, and something in her chest tightened at the sound. Leah was no longer human, but the memories of what she was still sometimes sent shivers down her spine. She couldn't afford to relax. Every minute on this ship could be the last. She found him in the central room, where alien aggressors were already breaking through. Corral was impressively tall, even in his weakened state. His skin shimmered with shades of dark blue and purple, and his eyes focused on Leah. He was the last defender of his species, the only one with the power to stop the onslaught of forces approaching his world. "Are you mechanical?" he muttered as Leah bent over him, checking on him. "Ex-person," she answered, not even looking at him. There was no emotion in her voice, but her mind was bubbling with worry. "You must leave me." His voice was low and husky, like a warrior who realizes his time is running out. "I'm doomed. The swarm is here. You can't stop them." "I didn't come here for a vain mission," Leah answered, lifting him to his feet, feeling his body shake under the weight of her own weary heart. "You can survive, and we will do it together." However, the ship shuddered from the impact. Something big was pushing through the hull. Footsteps appeared in the darkness, massive, metallic, heavy. "They're here," Corral whispered. His eyes widened in horror. He recognized these creatures. They were hunters, machines created for one thing: to destroy all living things. Leah looked up. Her mechanical eyes quickly changed mode, scanning the situation. The enemy was closer than she expected. She calculated every step, every possibility of retreat, but there was only one solution left: fight. Protection for life, right? She muttered to herself and turned sharply to face Corral. "Stay behind me." Corral watched in awe as Leah spread her mechanical arms, drawing blades that glinted in the dim light. She came out to meet the enemies, their red eyes shining through the smoke rising from the wreckage. The battle began so suddenly that Corral only had time to close his eyes for a moment. Leah moved with unheard-of speed, her blades slicing through metal enemies, their blows only bouncing off her armor. Her movements were clear, precise, as if each movement was part of a carefully planned algorithm. However, there were too many of them. One of the hunters broke through Leah's defenses and hit her with such force that she was sent flying into the wall, her blades falling to the floor and her systems crashing for a few seconds. She slowly raised her head, trying to activate her reserve power, but she knew that she might not survive the next blow. However, Corral stood before her, his body glowing with a light Leah had never seen before. "Now it's my turn," he said, his voice filled with power. The alien defender raised his arms and a huge stream of energy erupted from his body, pushing the enemies back. He released his true potential, the one that had been blocked within him due to pain and fatigue. Leah saw in front of her not just a warrior, but a legend. However, he could not keep this state for long. "You can't take them all down," Leah croaked, getting up from the floor. "You're losing strength." "I can protect you, only while there is time," Corral replied. His eyes were full of determination. "Protect for life, whether it's yours or mine." Leah raised her blades and stood beside him. They will fight together until one of them falls. But the thought was already burning in their eyes. They will not just survive, they will win. Leah could feel her systems gradually rebuilding. The disruption caused by the last blow was temporary, but the enemies did not give much time to recover. She clenched the blades in her hands, feeling the charge of energy regenerate within her mechanical body. "We can't just run away," she muttered, glancing around the battlefield. The hunters, robotic monsters, continued to advance. Their red eyes were as cold as the vacuum heart of the cosmos itself. Corral was silent, his gaze focused on the approaching line of enemies. He was breathing heavily, and Leah realized that his energy surge wasn't forever. He could be a legendary defender, but right now his strength was draining too quickly. "We need to get out of here. If we stay, it will be the end of us," Leah said coldly. She was not human, but she understood that this moment did not allow emotions to take over. "But where to run?" Corral asked, keeping his eyes on the approaching enemies. "There's more of them than I could imagine. They're not just hunters, they're an army." Leah stepped forward, standing between him and the enemies. Her metal fingers gripped the blades even tighter. "I won't leave you." Her voice was clear and determined. "You are the key to victory, and I promised that I would protect you." Suddenly, behind, from the darkness of the ship's corridors, there was a mechanical hum. Leia instantly turned around and saw something she hadn't expected. The ship's old systems had started to come to life. The red lights of the signal lamps lit up on the walls, and the electronic displays activated. "It's not them," she whispered. "The ship comes to life by itself?" "It's impossible," Corral muttered. "This ship was decommissioned centuries ago." But the systems were actually activated. The old emergency protocols kicked in, and the ship began recovery procedures. Leah quickly connected to the main core through her internal interfaces. Her mind instantly connected with the ship, and she gained access to all the data. "The ship has a self-defense system," she said. "If we can activate it fully, we can use the defense mechanisms to hold these creatures and escape." "How long can you hold them?" Corral asked, bracing himself for the next burst of energy. "I won't be able to for a long time," answered Leah. Her internal clock counted every second. She knew that the reserve of her strength was limited. Leia quickly stepped onto the command bridge, dragging Corral behind her. She connected to the old computer systems, trying to access the ship's weapons. Her fingers moved so fast it looked like lightning to the human eye. The ship shuddered once more. The hunters broke through the outer defenses and began to approach the command center. "Only chance," Leah whispered, her systems heating up from the overload. "I must gain control." However, suddenly, something went wrong. An alien code appeared in the ship's system. Leah began to fight him, but he was too complicated, like a smart trap. "This isn't just an attack, they've taken control of the ship," Leah burst out. Here, Corral stepped closer, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You must choose. Either we stay and fight, or you use your powers for something more important. Let's save yourself and my civilization." Leah looked at him. Fires of energy flickered in her eyes. She knew that her mission was more important than any personal ambitions. She had to save this alien protector because he was the last hope of his world. "We're running away," she finally answered. "But if we come back, I will destroy every one of them." The alien ship, besieged everywhere by hunters, suddenly sped up. Thanks to Leia's efforts, they launched an emergency escape protocol, dumping an army of enemies in deep space. However, Leah knew that this was only the beginning. The ship broke away from its surroundings, leaving the hunters in the distant darkness of space. Leia and Corral were in the control bay, their breathing still not normal after the intense battle. But Leah did not relax. Her cybernetic sensors continued to register every movement of the ship, every pulse emanating from the security systems. "Where to now?" Corral asked, leaning against the wall. His blue-purple skin was slightly dull. Even he, the legendary defender, seemed exhausted after what had happened. "We can't go back to your planet, their army will follow us," Leia replied, calculating the vector of movement. She connected to the ship's navigation systems, looking for a safe way through space. "My planet," Corral muttered. His eyes were full of concern. "They're coming. If we don't stop them, my people have no chance of survival." Leah paused for a second, looking at him. There was no visible emotion in her mechanical eyes, but she understood his pain. She knew it was a sense of loss and responsibility, something she had felt when she had gone cybernetic, when she had lost her own life for a chance at survival. I will find a solution, she said coldly, but there was determination in her words. She never backed down from impossible tasks. Corral looked at her, his gaze filled with new hope. He knew that this mechanical girl was not just a machine. She had something more: willpower and indomitable determination. Leah calculated the nearest point where it was possible to temporarily hide from the pursuers. The ship began to move towards a distant asteroid nebula belt that could hide their track for a while. But her thoughts were busy with other things. They couldn't just hide forever. The enemies continued to pursue them and were getting closer to the planet Corral every minute. How long can your planet last without you? Leah asked as she continued to work with the systems. Several weeks, maybe less, he answered, sitting down on the metal chair next to him. We were hoping my defenses would stop the attack, but without my powers they won't be able to. They'll destroy our defenses and take over the planet. Leah absorbed the information and began to scroll through the options in her head. She knew that this time their strength was not enough. The ship was damaged and Corral's reserves were depleted. But there was one chance: to activate the defense systems on the planet from remote access. The problem was that in order to do so, she needed to crack new passcodes that were protected by the same hostile force that infiltrated their systems. We can use the planetary defense system, Leia said suddenly as she connected to the ship's inner core. But in order to do that, I'll need to gain access to the planet's central system. The problem is that their army has already breached some of the defenses. Corral looked at her. If you can do that, our chances of being saved will greatly increase, but breaking their code is impossible. Leah smiled coldly. Impossible for a human, but I'm not exactly human, remember? Her hands moved like lightning, entering commands into the ship's system. She decided to break the enemy's codes and regain control of the planetary defense systems. It was an extremely difficult operation, but Leah knew it was their only chance. Time passed. Every second was precious. Leah fought against hostile algorithms that tried to block her access. Each code was more difficult than the last, but she didn't stop. Her systems were heating up. Processors were working at their limits. Suddenly, after a few minutes of intense struggle, the message "Access Granted" appeared on the screen. I broke them, Leah said with cold determination. We can activate the defense systems. Now the planet will be able to hold on longer. Corral couldn't believe his eyes. She did what was considered impossible, but that was just the beginning. We've bought ourselves some time, Leah said, feeling her internal systems begin to overheat from overuse. But the enemies will not let us go. Now they will definitely hunt us even more actively. What's next? Corral asked, his voice full of worry but also hope. Leah looked at him. A metallic fire lit up in her eyes. Next, we'll go where they don't expect us. If we can't beat them defensively, we'll do it offensively. We'll find their base and destroy them once and for all. Corral took a deep breath. He knew it was crazy, but he had no choice. His planet depended on this mechanical girl. And now he understood that she was more than a warrior. She was their last chance for survival. And so, the ship set off on a new mission. This time, not for defense, but for attack. The ship was heading into the depths of space where real danger awaited them. Leah sat on the command bridge, her sensors constantly scanning the space for threats. The hunters, these merciless creatures, did not give up, and Leah knew that their next encounter would be deadly, but this time she wasn't going to wait for them to attack first. They will be the ones to strike. You really want to attack their base? Corral asked, standing nearby. His skin still retained a bluish tint, but his gaze became alert, ready to fight. It's the only way, Leah replied coldly, keeping her eyes on the monitors. Her system analyzed every variant of the development of events. If we don't destroy their command center, they won't retreat. And if they find us first, we won't be able to fight back. Corral nodded silently. He was aware of the risk. This path was dangerous, perhaps even hopeless. But there was no other way out. I found their central node, Leah said, her metal fingers moving across the keyboard. It's a large base on one of the abandoned asteroids. They use it as a covert operating platform for attacks on various planets. But it will be a trap, Corral said suspiciously. They know we will try to destroy them. Of course it's a trap. Leah nodded, but something new, something dangerous lit up in her eyes. But we'll go for it. They don't expect someone to attack so desperately, and that's our advantage. The ship slowed as it approached the derelict asteroid drifting in the dead end of the galaxy. He looked dead, a huge rock scorched by cosmic winds, seemingly completely invisible in this sea of stars. But Leah knew better. Its systems already stored information about hidden signals coming from the depths of the asteroid. They're lurking beneath the surface, she said as she entered the scan commands. Their base is inside. We'll have to break through their defenses. How do we do it? Corral was wary. He knew it would be difficult, but he didn't understand how the two of them could destroy an entire enemy base. Leah pulled several small devices from one of the panels on the wall. These are our allies, she said, handing him one of the spheres that lit up with a soft blue light. These are pulse bombs. We will plant them at strategic points and then detonate them remotely. Their systems will be paralyzed and the base destroyed. And how do we get in? Corral looked at her suspiciously. I mean, their bodyguards will be everywhere. I will whenever they try to find us, Leia replied as she activated the ship's cloaking system. Her mechanical eyes gleamed with determination. We'll get inside, plant the bombs, and by the time they realize what's happened, it'll be too late. The ship approached the asteroid. Leah guided him through the many massive pieces of debris swirling around him, hiding under the natural cover of cosmic shadows. She knew that their chances of success were only a few %, but she was not used to such conditions. In her world, every moment was a struggle for survival. Eventually, the ship reached the surface of the asteroid. Leia and Corral descended to the surface, wearing special spacesuits that protected them from the cosmic vacuum. In front of them was a huge metal gate, the entrance to the Hunter's underground base. I'm going to break through this defense, Leah said as she connected her interfaces to the external mechanism. Her hands moved quickly, entering codes and hacked algorithms until the giant door slowly began to open. Stay close, she said to Corral. They already know we're here. As the doors opened, the darkness within the base greeted them with a silent threat. Leah felt it first. The enemies were here, hiding in the shadows. But they didn't know yet that she was capable of more than just fighting. Her systems were working at inhuman speed, and she didn't give them a chance to counterattack. Suddenly, Leah took out her blaster and destroyed the first hunter that appeared from around the corner. She neutralized the second one faster than Corral could realize what had happened. Let's move quickly, she said, continuing to head deeper into the base. Their mission allowed no delay. They planted the pulse bombs one by one as they made their way through the dark corridors of the base. They were attacked from time to time, but Leia and Corral were elusive. Her speed and accuracy left her enemies no chance. There were only 2 points left when suddenly something changed. Leah felt an unfamiliar intrusion into her systems. Her cybernetic sensors began picking up stronger signals. It was as if the base itself began to respond to her presence. What is it? Corral asked, sensing her tension. They activated some kind of defense system, Leah answered, trying to pick up the new signals. These are more than just standard hunters. There's something different here, something more powerful. And suddenly, from the depths of the base, a loud roar was heard. Something big, massive, and dangerous was approaching them. We need to finish quickly, Leah said, picking up the pace. This may be our last chance. They moved like lightning, but the roar was getting closer. What haunted them was bigger and more powerful than any threat they had faced before. As Leia and Corral finally reached the final points to deploy the pulse bombs, the threat became more apparent. The darkness of the base mixed with the fierce red light that emanated from the activated defense systems. Something extremely powerful and dangerous began to approach them, something that was intent on destroying them before they could complete their mission. Rather, Leah shouted as she set the last bomb. Her mechanical arms moved with relentless precision, but even she sensed the growing danger. Corral clenched his energy weapon, ready for any eventuality. His eyes were full of determination. He knew that without Leah, they wouldn't even be able to get here, and now their chance of survival was on the edge. Suddenly, out of the darkness, a monstrous figure appeared. It was a huge robotic titan, with tentacles that resembled brutal metal blades. His eyes blazed with red light, and his entire appearance was permeated with aggression. He looked like the commando leader of the Hunters, a giant mechanical being who controlled the base and was intent on protecting it at all costs. "It's their command drone," Leia exclaimed, her systems quickly assessing the threat. "He can destroy us in seconds. We urgently need to activate the bombs and run." Corral looked at the huge enemy, his heart beating faster. "I'll hold him. You handle the bombs." "You can't. It's too dangerous," Leia protested, but Corral had already stepped forward, ready to fight. "I have to do it. This is our only chance." Realizing that protest was futile, Leia pressed the button to activate the bombs. The system has started a countdown. She quickly turned her gaze to Corral, who was already engaged in battle with the command drones. His weapon glows with energy, ripping and destroying everything in its path. "Hold on!" Leia shouted over the comm channel. Her hands threw energy pulses, shielding Corral and trying to stop the Titan from moving any further. The command drone attacked with all its might. His tentacles tore through the air, trying to destroy Leia and Corral. But Corral was a skilled fighter. He dodged the blows while simultaneously attacking with his energy bow. Leia felt human compassion for the first time. She saw Corral fight for their chance at salvation, and it made her do more than just her job. Her mechanical arms worked at lightning speed, providing the protection Corral needed. Time was running out. Leia knew the bombs would go off soon and she needed to get out of here. She activated the escape system, opening a portal to the ship. "Corral, follow me!" shouted Leia, and together with Corral, they rushed to the portal. Enraged and badly damaged, the team drone gave chase, but Leia had already closed the portal behind her. She knew that the command drone would not have time to stop their escape. The ship fired the engines again and they quickly left the asteroid. Leia did not take her eyes off the monitor, which showed the approach to the base. They saw the base explode in a huge explosion, sending up debris and dust. "We did it," Leia said as she watched the explosion. "Now your planet can breathe easy again." Corral breathed a sigh of relief, his energy beginning to return. He turned to Leia. "You saved not only my planet, but also my life. I will never be able to thank you enough for that." Leia slowly turned to him. Her mechanical eyes were calm and determined. "My mission is complete, but this is not the end. There is much more that needs our attention." "What now?" Corral asked, ready for any new challenge. Leia looked at the endless space in front of them. "Now we will continue. We will have new tasks, new missions, and together we will become a force that will change this cosmos." The ship picks up speed, passing stars and planets. Leia and Corral knew that their journey had only just begun. There were still many threats and adventures in space. But now they had each other, and that gave them the strength to move forward. And in the future, outer space opened up before them, promising new challenges and opportunities. Both Leia, with her mechanical heart, and Corral, as the protector of her people, were ready for any challenge that awaited them in the boundless space. As the ship raced through the void of space, Leia and Corral could not relax. Their success in destroying the Hunter base only marked the new beginning of their journey. They knew their actions had far-reaching consequences, and every day the threat became more real. Leia turned back to the monitor showing their course. "We have a lot of work ahead of us. Now our main goal is to recover the planet Corral and prepare for possible future attacks." "What exactly are we supposed to do?" Corral asked, already beginning to regain his energy. His expression was calmer, but his eyes were still alert. Leia paused as she studied the data. "First, we need to contact our allies. After the attack on the fighter base, we need to announce our victory and agree on our next course of action. Next, we need to find resources to repair and upgrade our ship. And of course, we must continue look for sources of threat." Corral nodded. "I will contact our diplomats. They can help with recovery and resources. But there is something else. We must find out why the Hunters were so aggressive. What motivated them to attack my planet?" Leia agreed. "Agreed. This is an important issue. There may be more to it than just territorial grabs. We need to understand what's behind it, and if there are any other threats that might emerge. The ship landed on an orbital station that served as headquarters for diplomatic and military operations. Leia and Corral made their way to the control center, where they were met by representatives from several space factions. "We have already received your mission reports," said a high-ranking official, displaying the data on a large screen. "Your victory over the Hunter base made a great impression. We are all grateful to you." Corral thanked the representatives and went straight to the matter of restoring the planet. Leia, meanwhile, continued to study information about the Hunters. She discovered that there was a secret communications network that relayed signals between the various Hunter factions. "This may be the key to understanding why they attacked," Leia said, showing Corral the data. "I found information that they had some kind of central agreement or plan. Maybe it was part of a larger strategy." Corral studied the data carefully. "We might have stumbled upon something big. We need to check it out." Leia decided to review this data and discovered that the local Hunter factions had a plan to capture resources in various parts of the galaxy. Their attacks were part of a larger plan to increase their power and influence. "It looks like an attempt to create a large empire," Leia explained. "They are trying to seize control of strategic resources and systems to build their power." "That explains their aggressiveness," Corral added. "If we don't stop them now, it could lead to a huge war." "We have to find their central command," Leia said as she began to form a plan of action. "There is a possibility that the higher commanders have more information. We need to study their communications and understand where their main command is." Corral addressed the station officials. "We will need support for our new mission. A coalition may need to be formed to combat this threat." Station representatives agreed. "We will help you with resources and technical support. Your mission is important to the security of the entire galactic space." With new allies and resources, Leia and Corral prepared for a new mission. Their goal was clear: to stop the Hunters' ambitions and find a way to end their threat to the galaxy. The ship took off again into space, this time on a new course, towards the Hunters' center of influence. Leia and Corral were ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Their spirit was steadfast, their determination stronger than ever before. There was a new battle ahead, a new challenge. But they knew one thing: together they could achieve any goal. And in this vast cosmos where there were no limits to possibilities, their struggle was just beginning. Leia and Corral's ship, strengthened by new resources and the support of allies, raced into boundless space. They were on their way to the central command of the Hunters, trying to find and destroy the source of the threat that could threaten the entire galaxy. They continued their journey through space, full of unknown dangers and secrets. There was a red light ahead, marking the approach to the heart of the Hunter Empire. Leia and Corral were alert, their every step full of caution and determination. "We are approaching the coordinates," said Leia, carefully studying the data on the monitor. "This is the main headquarters of the Hunters. The defense system will be extremely powerful." Corral, impatient, checked his energy armor. "We are ready for any scenario, but remember, this could be our last fight." "We know that," Leia replied, glaring at him. Her eyes were full of determination and anxiety. "We've done everything possible. Now all that's left is to act." The ship entered orbit around a huge space station of Hunters. Her appearance was impressive. Power and strength were felt in every detail. Leia launched a cloaking system to avoid early detection. When they reached the interior of the station, Leia and Corral made their way through its dark corridors. Once again they encountered the evil guards, but their experience and training allowed them to act quickly and efficiently. They reached the control center where they found a huge screen showing the plans and reports of the fighter command. "It looks like they're planning a new attack on multiple planets at the same time," Leia said, studying the information. "We must prevent them from implementing this plan." They began setting up their explosive devices, securing key points in the central command center. The explosions were timed precisely to destroy the main control node and stop the attack. "But something's wrong," Leia suddenly said, her sensors picking up unexpected signals. "We can't just run away. They've already spotted us." All of a sudden, the station started alarming, and every minute the situation became more and more critical. A huge army of drones and guards began moving towards the control center. "We must go now," Karal shouted, his weapon clenched. Leia and Karal began to retreat, but at that moment the explosions on the station caused serious damage. The station's security system was activated to the maximum, and everything happened as in a bad dream. Their way to the ship was blocked. "We cannot retreat," Leia shouted, her system alerting to new threats. "They activated the defense system and we have to find another way out." Forced to act quickly, Leia and Karal familiarized themselves with the situation. During their retreat, the command drone appeared before them again, but this time it was much more powerful and aggressive. "Stay alive!" Karal shouted as he charged. He tried to stop the drone, distracting it so Leia could find a way out. Leia fought her way out, but the drones and defense systems were too powerful. Her mechanical arms were moving super fast, but her strength was already at the limit. "Karal, go!" Leia shouted, trying to cover him. "You can escape and finish the mission." But Karal refused. "We will not leave each other. These are our last moments and I will not leave you." Both warriors fought to the last. As the explosion set off the final signal, the drone team launched the final attack. Leia and Karal already knew their time was running out. Eventually, a huge blast wave tore the station apart. Leia and Karal were inside, their ship no longer able to approach them. Explosions and debris destroyed everything around them. Karal held Leia close. "This is the end," he whispered as he felt his strength leave him. "I will always be grateful to you for saving my planet." "Me too," Leia whispered, her voice trailing off. "We did everything we could. What's next is none of our business." Together, they perished in the final explosion, in which every piece of the station disintegrated in space. Their mission was accomplished, but at the cost of their lives. The cosmos became calm again, but the price for peace was high. Leia and Karal, heroes who fought to the last breath, left behind a legend. Their names will be remembered as symbols of courage and self-sacrifice which gave the galaxy a new chance for peace.